Kathy Bisbee, Executive Director at CMAP. Welcome to this edition of Depth of Field, a program here in Gilroy about local issues affecting local people, also in Hollister and San Benito County. And I have with me today the Christopher High School new principal, Patty Jolly. Welcome.
Thank you.
So we're going to talk a little bit about the new football stadium. And of course, you can add anything else you like about Christopher High and things that are happening here. And if you have anything you want to add at the end, we'll be able to do that. But tell us a little bit about the football stadium and kind of what was the location, where's the location, and tell us as much as you can about it.
Okay, well, first of all, it is a sports complex. It's actually going to be called the Don Christopher Sports Complex here at Christopher High School. And so it's meant to house far more than football. There'll be soccer, lacrosse, field hockey, track and field. That's a very big thing too. And we've been billing it as the biggest classroom on campus because our PE classes, have you seen prior to this, have done their running all around the perimeter of the school through the parking lots. So we're very excited about that during the day it is our biggest PE classroom. So they'll be able to have a really good complex.
Now, is this going to be an indoor complex or
no.
out? So
no,
it's all
it'll
outside.
all be outside.
Okay, so Four Season,
right.
California
So
style.
Raining, they will be inside our beautiful gym.
Yes.
But yes, right now the sports complex, what's planned is the track. You can actually see the outline of it now, which is pretty exciting.
Oh, wow.
And then, of course, the field will be striped for the 4 different primary sports that will be played on it.
How long has this been in the works?
Well, the desire for it was from the very beginning, before Christopher opened, even in 2009, but the original budget cuts eliminated our track and field and a theater that we were going to have.
The Black Box Theater.
The Black Box Theater we do have, but a regular
right.
theater we don't have, a traditional theater.
That was supposed to be next to the Black Box Theater.
Yes,
I remember the original plans. Yeah,
beautiful plans, and hopefully someday that will come into play too. But now, because it's always been in the works, and a really important thing, 100% of the students at Christopher now and for years to come will use this sports complex, and it will solve a lot of issues and provide a lot of opportunity, because our kids, as you can see, we'll use football for example, since you brought that up. They have not really had an appropriate field to practice on, and all games are away. So everything demands transportation, getting kids to and from. And now they'll be able to practice on their own field and have a true home field.
So when you say away, you might have to explain that to our viewers who may not be familiar with what that looks like for Christopher High football players. Right.
Traditionally in a high school, if kids, when we're saying going away, they have to play all of their games at other schools. So our home games, because we shared Gilroy High's field, which we are very grateful for, so a home game, we still were traveling across town to go to Gilroy High so that they could play on that field. Now, when we have a home game, they will be right here at Christopher. So that's going to be very exciting for all those sports I mentioned before. I know they're all really looking forward to it.
So how much is this project going to cost? It sounds like a pretty complex
It is a pretty complex, and a lot of very intelligent people have done, much more so than I know what they're doing, have planned this out, and their phase 1 is all complete in terms of the works of what's paid for and all. And that's going to be a little over $3 million. They've laid out what all of the costs are. We are incredibly lucky in Gilroy that we have an amazing benefactor in Don Christopher and his family. He has donated over $2 million.
Wow.
His son, Bill, donated over $100,000 for the scoreboard alone. Wow. The district, who has to share funds, as we all know, public school funds are limited, and they have to share funds, but the district also has put in over $300,000, which has really helped us be able to complete the track. When all of this is synthetic turf, which in the long run, it's more expensive up front, so I know a lot of people have concerns or think about that. In the long run, it is much more cost effective because you're not the maintenance of a field, the water, although it's been raining this week, but it is a drought year. That's always problematic. And then your surfacing is stable. You don't have to worry about any shift in the ground and so forth. So everybody's very excited that this will be synthetic turf,
It's more
both
static,
on the
I would
track and the
imagine.
field. Yeah,
Yeah.
it gives them a stable surface. It's longer lasting, and of course, it's wash-offable, but it is not something you have to water and mow and do all the, there are times we love to tease Darren Yaffe, our athletic director, because one sport needs a field where the grass is 2.5 inches high, another one is 1.5 inches, because it's different sports. So in this case, obviously, you have no concerns about that. It is a very stable field given on any given day.
You think with synthetic fabrics, they could just sort of grow the grass or cut it down, that it could kind of shrink and expand, but probably they just have one surface for all of the sports.
I think they do, because it doesn't grow.
Well, and also I would imagine for injuries too, to have a more stable surface is probably better for most athletes.
Absolutely true. That's huge.
And liability.
It has been. And our coaches would be so glad you brought that up, because that has been a concern when you have a natural field.
Right.
You're going to have highs and lows on any given day, and a hole in the field, a divot from anything that stays there. In synthetic, that isn't going to happen.
That's great. So you said phase 1 is complete. Tell us about the phases. How many phases are there? What does each phase entail?
I think, and you never know what will be added, but looking at phase 1 and phase 2 is what I've seen before. And when I say phase 1 is complete, the actual work isn't complete, but the funds and everything for phase 1, that a little over $3 million is all complete. And so that covers the track, the field, stands on both sides, various things that go along with whatever the sports are. To my knowledge, phase 2, and that where the money has not been raised yet, is things like the press box, additional stands. There will be a sort of press box because they're getting that ready. There has to be some place, but the extent to that, the snack shack, restrooms, things like that will be in phase 2.
We're very interested in the press box here.
Of
here
course.
at CMAP. Of course, as you know, we have a very extensive football program that is mostly run by volunteers, in fact, and many of them are Christopher and Gilroy High students that we've trained here at our facility at CMAP.
That's been phenomenal for us, because our kids have we loved the idea when you came on campus in our first year that our kids have access to the video equipment, to this experience is amazing. So of course we love that. And that's James Bombachi, who's our district, and he knows the facilities, was talking about the cables, which I won't know all the names, but to try to make sure that we have what's necessary out there, because CMAP and the filming, this is high school sports are a very, very big thing, and this leads kids to college and a lot of other experiences. So
we've actually had students and their families contact us to make them a highlight reel. And so we have had volunteers who've come in and done that, and we've also done a few little, small paid production work for folks who were sending them off to colleges. For sports recruitment videos, in fact. So we welcome that. We love for volunteers and for students to come in and create those kinds of projects. And in a video world, it's a great idea to have a video about your resume, really, for college.
Absolutely.
It sets you apart from the others. So, well, we'll be very excited when the press box is funded and in there, and hopefully there'll be some opportunities to do live shoots out there. It'd be great.
I certainly would hope so and think so.
Well, thank you for your support of CMAP here. Tell us a little bit about the groundbreaking happening for the project. I know there's been some groundbreaking that's happened already, and when will things really be finished? Yeah,
the first was sort of a small group groundbreaking occurred on February the 3rd.
Oh, okay.
And that was sort of the first shovel in the ground.
Nice and dry in February for
right,
you.
right, before all the rains. And just to get, because that was sort of the official, Jenny Derry, who's the project manager, had brought people on campus so that we know where everything's going to be.
Right.
When you have contractors on campus and you have students on campus, we want to know what's being used. Our PE department is without half of the outdoor basketball courts.
Oh, wow.
Just so we figured out, they were great about figuring out a minimum amount of space, adding a driveway so that they're not coming on and off campus when the kids are here. They put fencing around it. All of that was terrific. So that was sort of an initial excitement that we're actually getting started.
That's great.
The real ribbon cutting ceremony, celebration was set for August 4th. The
Oh,
idea was to
okay.
have it done, it won't be. The idea was to have it done by Don Christopher's birthday.
Oh.
And if we're lucky, we'll still make that, but we did hit a snag, and so there's soil compaction. It wasn't compacting right, and
Oh,
so
okay.
they've added, we have to add some lime to the soil to get that going. So right now, I just talked to the district office today. They're projecting the first week in September would be that would probably be more likely.
That's not too much of a delay, really.
No, and they've been amazing with what little experience I have with that kind of work. They've been amazing. I won't be surprised if they get it back on track, and we'll be excited to say. But that was the latest news.
Now, do the rains delay any of the progress at all?
They do. They build in, when they show us the report, the people have done this many times, and so they built in 18 days for rain.
Oh, okay.
So I think it was more, the setback was the discovering the soil compaction issue. The rain certainly doesn't help, but I know that's part of it.
Well, we're happy to get the rain right now. Even
Right.
if it delays the project a little bit more.
Yeah.
Who's been the designer for the field, and what other projects have they been working on?
Verde Designs is the primary person. Artique also, I think they helped with that, but Verde Designs are the primary designers, and that's their whole field of expertise is school fields, tracks and fields. So I asked I wanted to make sure I had, there were so many names I couldn't even list them all, but San Jose Unified School District has used them, Fremont Unified School District, I believe San Jose State. They talked about Stockton. They named schools up and down the state. So what I was excited about, not knowing details, but that this is their primary line of work, and this is what they do schools.
Excellent.
So this is not their first project, so we were excited about that.
Oh, that's great. What well, we've talked a little bit about some of the great new things that'll be on the field. What makes it more advanced maybe than other fields that we know of or that are out there, like the new Dole field, I guess?
Yeah, I do know that the group went out to look at the Dole field.
They did?
I did not go on that. That was the end of last year, and I didn't go with them when they went to look at Dole Field. I don't know that we're more advanced than Dole Field. I think they looked at that as a good model. From our point of view, obviously having a synthetic field, this is going to make a huge difference. Many schools have that now. So I'm not honestly sure what I would say makes ours more advanced, or are we getting something that now is up to date that many schools are getting. So for us, we are thrilled to have our own field. Having it be synthetic turf is huge. And I do think in terms of press box and in terms of looking at things now with video and streaming, that's been a very important part. I don't know if other schools have that option, so I'm hoping that maybe that's what makes us different.
Well, definitely a lot of them don't have CMAP, and they don't have community media centers at their school, although there are some in the Bay Area that have partnered with schools. We love to see that for the opportunities that it presents. How many people can be seated? How big is this going to be?
They're on the home side. They're planning for 1,500 in those stands, and on the guest side, they are planning between 500 and 700. I know that the plan is to add. Yeah, high school sports are a very big deal, and you can often have, and we do the Garlic Classic, and there are many things for track as well. Last year that was held on Gilroy's campus, and we're hoping to have it on our campus next year too. There can be 32, 38 schools from all over the state, so you can have thousands of people, and they sit everywhere, including the stands. But I think the original plan now is in the starting phase 1 to do 1,500 on a home side, where you tend to get far more people, and 500 to 700 on your guest field side. And then
how does that compare to Gilroy?
I think it's very similar.
Okay. I have in my mind, I can kind of see how big that stadium is and imagine what it would look like. Can you describe where it actually is located for people who are maybe thinking, they're hearing the conversation we're having and they're thinking, where are they talking about exactly?
Yeah, if they drove by now, they're going to be able to see it. But, off of Santa Teresa and Day Road West, that corner, you can see our tennis courts, our pool, our tennis courts, and then the back side of the tennis courts, the entire, what was our practice field, that will be where this sports complex will go. So it will be right adjacent to the tennis courts, and then also the baseball field on that far what would be the far east end.
The far east end, okay.
Closest to Santa Teresa. So, and there'll be lights. I should have told you that's included in this phase 1 too. That's all been already approved by the state.
Oh, great.
So,
now, how
which
bright
is very
are those
exciting.
lights going to be? You know, you think Friday night lights.
Friday night lights, it will be, I think we are talking about your standard,
Wow.
you know, state approved for a sports stadium, so they will be bright.
Wow, that's exciting.
It's very exciting. It's very exciting.
And what's going to happen with traffic? I mean, that's obviously, I'm sure people are thinking, gosh, you know, it's already kind of crazy sometimes at the end of the school day when people are picking up kids and kids are driving off.
And that will be I spoke with Alvaro Meza, our Chief Business Officer today, too, specifically about that. And in the original traffic reports, because even in looking at Christopher, they were looking at a school with a capacity of 1,800 to 2,000 students. So that was taken into account at the beginning because the original plan called for a stadium.
Right.
So luckily they had done traffic impact reports then. Because Friday night lights or a Saturday big track invitational, the kinds of things that will be used are done after school hours.
Right.
It is a similar amount of people to who are coming during school hours,
Right.
but at a different time.
Right.
So they are thinking and hoping that the existing plan will hold the traffic and the crowds that this will bring.
Great.
So we hope we're right.
Yeah.
And we will see. So.
That's great. And the ribbon cutting we know is going to be probably September. And then internet. You know, I know you talked to the IT guys about this a little bit.
He did. He said and forgive me if I'm using it, but he said the
Cat
6
6
cable is already planned, and he was
Great.
checking, James Bombacci was checking. There was another cable name that you would probably know that I can't think of what it is now, and I think that was the streaming video part to see about that.
Yeah.
That's the best I can do for you, unfortunately, today, but he was saying that that's what he was looking into. He knew the Cat 6 was there, and there was some other line to see if that was there.
Well, we're very excited about that, obviously, because we would love to be able to do streaming or even just do live interviews out on the field at any of these different events that we have for sports here
I
at
know
Christopher
that
High.
would be welcomed by all of us, as you were mentioning earlier. That's a benefit in everything now. There's so much college applications, and a lot of that is rarely paper anymore. A lot of things you're able to send.
Exactly.
A video
online,
clip you're able to.
through
So
social
students
media,
who are,
all of that.
So this has been helpful. And for other things, if we get to a point too, there have been some other huge benefits of CMAP for our campus and further. So if this is the appropriate time to talk, I would love to.
But I think we'll have to do a whole show about what plans we have for CMAP at Christopher High, because I think there's lots of exciting opportunities for collaboration.
Yeah. So I'd really like to thank our district superintendent, Dr. Flores, our board president, Mark Good, and the board for voting to approve these extra funds so that we could get this project finished.
So I'm going to go ahead and wrap up, because I think what we'll probably want to do is go out and interview some folks in the field, and maybe even get some video out there on site.
That would be great.
What's happening, and see some visuals, and maybe also talk to some of the coaches about how excited they are about this project, because I'm sure they all have a lot to say.
They would love it, and I think a few of our athletes and maybe a PE teacher who know how it's being used, this would be phenomenal. I would love for the public to hear what they have to say.
Well, originally we were supposed to have a stadium here at Christopher High. It was in on the original plans. We're looking at 6, 7, 8 years ago. And then our district had to cut the project to save some money. In fact, there was supposed to be a $15 million state-of-the-art theater on campus too. So to save about $20 million, which a big high school like this ends up getting pretty expensive, to save about $20 million, our district had to make the decision to cut the stadium and cut the theater, which was a bummer for all of us, but sometimes those changes or cuts have to be made. So it was always our dream after that. We were heartbroken initially because I was working with our district and the architects and the construction company for a couple years even prior to us opening. So it was always our dream once it was cut, and then as our school got underway, our first few years, to have a stadium built. We just didn't know if it would be a couple years down the line or 10 or 15 years. We just didn't really know. In the meantime, we were having to have football games and track meets and other events over at the stadium at Gilroy High, which is tough. It's better than not having a stadium at all, but it's tough because it impacts both schools. And So we were kind of lucky. We had a handful of dads, these super dads that their sons play sports here at Christopher High, who also had that vision of making sure we could build a stadium sooner than later. And they met with the Christopher family and kind of got the project rolling. And we're grateful to them. We're grateful to the Christophers because without these parents and their motivation, and without the Christophers and their generosity, we wouldn't have the stadium underway.
Right. Tell me about some of the details of the stadium, of what is going to be included in this complex.
Well, we're looking at phase 1 and phase 2. And phase 1 we're hoping to have completed this September, so we could actually play our home football games and home field hockey games right here this fall, right here at Christopher High. And so phase 1, all we're funding, that's being funded right now is phase 1, which will be synthetic turf, a nice state-of-the-art track, and some home stands, and a very nice scoreboard too. We're very happy Christopher Ranch has sponsored and donated the scoreboard. So phase 2, which will be down the line, we don't have any funding for phase 2, no planning for phase 2. That could be 4 years from now, it could be 10 years from now, we're really not sure. But phase 2 would include a visitor side stand, permanent restrooms, snack bar, and some other amenities, fencing, some landscaping. So it will be, even in its completion, it's going to be a very modest, nice, cute little homey stadium. And phase 1 will you know, be missing some things, but we'll definitely be able to host athletic events with phase 1 intact. We'll have some portable bleachers over on the visitor side, some temporary fencing. You know, obviously snack bar will have to be tents and makeshift. We'll have to bring in those big walk-in portable restrooms, so the big walk-in porta potties. So we're going to have to kind of adapt and improvise and overcome a little bit over the first few years with phase 1, but we'll make it happen.
All right, that's good to hear.
A partial stadium is better than no stadium at all. So you know, we're grateful, we're excited, and we're going to make it work.
Excellent. Do you have anything else you want to add?
Just thank you for
Sure.
doing the interview and bringing attention to something that I think is really wonderful for Christopher High.
And it's a very exciting project for the whole city and community of Gilroy as well.
Yes.
So, you know, thank you to Don and Karen, Christopher, and also to the district for making this happen. I think it's a wonderful opportunity for the whole community.
Absolutely.
And thanks for coming.
You're
Appreciate it.
welcome. Thanks for having me.
Great. So we'll go out and we'll see a little bit about what's happening with the new stadium and talk to some of the players, hopefully, and coaches who are pretty excited about this new project. Thanks so much for watching Depth of Field, and we'll see you next quarter.